Mark and the family. So thank you all for being here today. And at this time, we'll just go ahead and get started with the pastor.
Please turn your cell phones to stun.
What he said.
That was subtle, Mark.
I know. That just reminded myself.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for being here. Everybody has quite a few emotions coming into the room today. I, for one, am seriously pissed. I feel like somebody's broken into my house and stole something very valuable. And I didn't see Daniel every day, but have known him for almost 25 years with the family. And I'd liken it to having a valuable gem in my safe, and one that I didn't look at every day, but I knew it was there and loved it. And somebody's broken in and stolen that. And for all of you, you'll have different experiences. For friends who knew him on a social level, you'll feel the pain mostly when the time comes to get together and have fun, and there'll be an empty seat. And family members will feel it more often, like a loss of a limb, every day, regularly. And so my deep, deep condolences to you guys, everybody, but you all that are the closest. And everybody's going to have a mix of emotions today: anger, confusion, rage, anguish, a mix of all those. And that is okay. You have 100% permission today to have all of those emotions, and today is a day of just being real, probably the most real funeral you've ever attended. So let's just kind of go through on the back of your bulletin in remembrance of the life of Daniel Alan Schiller. Today is a day about you, and we commemorate his life in that context. Daniel Alan Schiller, age 33, of Council Bluffs, Iowa, passed away on July 1st, 2016 at his home. He was born in Omaha, Nebraska, to Mark Schiller and Deana Rickard on April 29th, 1983, graduated from Abraham Lincoln High School in Council Bluffs. He enjoyed motorcycles, fishing, barbecuing, music, and most of all, hanging out with his kids, family, and friends. Daniel was survived by his son, Huntington, daughter Kayla, father Mark Schiller, and his wife Lora, mother Deana Rickard-Stokes, brothers Ronald Schiller and Scott Schiller, sister Carolyn Hendrix-Uhl, grandparents John and Donna Kotera, and many stepbrothers, stepsisters, family, and friends. By the show of hands, how many's family? Oh, how many's friends? Hopefully that's all of you. We're going to open up the microphone for three family members in particular, the siblings closest, Carolyn, Scott, and Ron. And I'll step down and let you guys just follow on the heels of each other.
I'm here today to tell my version of Daniel's story. Chapter 1 started with the hospital room. The nursery Dad had taken Scott and I to at the hospital. I was only 3 years old, but I remember it like yesterday. I was standing in the nursery window, peering through the glass of a row of newborn babies. Dad asked Scott and me which one we wanted. both of us picked Daniel. Laying in the bassinet with a blue butterfly name tag. That was our new baby to take home. We're going to skip ahead a couple chapters. Daniel is 3 years old now. He has just had a birthday party, and he received a new bicycle that year. It was one of those small toddler bicycles with training wheels. He was allowed to ride it in the house. However, Daniel didn't just ride this bike. Oh no. Daniel had to make all the sound effects too. So you'd see him riding through the halls. It was no ordinary bike. You see, this was Daniel's first motorcycle. Skip ahead a few chapters. Daniel has long since graduated from the raspberry sounds that he used and from the training wheels that he had when he was riding his bike. Scott had taught him how to attach one of those bicycle playing cards to the spokes of his tires to make the sound effects of a motorcycle that way. They would build ramps and try to pop wheelies. They would feed off of each other and always try to one-up the other. I did my best to try to keep up with them, but they were always getting themselves into trouble, and I was a good girl, see. Skip ahead a couple chapters. We would ride bikes in Fairmont Park here in Council Bluffs all day. The boys would try the stupidest stunt tricks that they could think of, whether it be riding their bikes across a teeter-totter in the park, or down a slide, or tie a rope to the back of it and pull the other one on the rollerblades. One of my favorite was Daniel tying his bike to a pole, thinking that if he rode fast enough, the bike would pop a wheelie on the front tire instead of the back, in reverse. But unfortunately, Daniel flipped over the handlebars instead. We would play all day until we could hear Dad's voice echo through the hills, each one of our names. There was no whistles needed. Skip ahead a couple chapters, and we are teenagers, 6 of us, living under one roof. Mom Tanya had her work cut out for her, that was for sure. Scott and Daniel would be the best of friends one minute, and the next, you'd have thought World War III had started. Mom Tanya would shout and snap her fingers, "Dan, outside! Go pound nails. Scott, go downstairs and pound your pillows." Both Scott and Daniel were playing drums for the youth group at church. James Murphy, the gentleman that was just up here, was our youth group pastor. And the boys would end up fighting over who got to play what praise and worship song and when. Skip ahead a couple of chapters, and we are adults now, or at least trying to be. Scott and Daniel have been riding motorcycles for what seems like ages. We now have children of our own, raising them the best that we can, trying to guide them and help them not do the same dumb things we did as kids. We are human, however, and we make mistakes. We are learning as we go. No one is perfect. We have suffered many hardships along the way, losing friends and family members when they are much too young. The road has been long and hard. There have been bumps and twists, bouts of pain, heartache, and sometimes even despair. But in these hard times, we have managed to pull together as a family and get through them. Every time we have succeeded, as we will through this as well. So where does the story go from here? Let's talk a little bit about punctuation. A good story always has good punctuation. And does everyone know what this punctuation means? This is a question mark. Everyone knows what a question mark does. It asks questions, as you should while you're writing your story. Ask lots of questions and learn as much as you can as you go. Does everyone know what this exclamation point stands for? There's someone raising their hand back there. Yes, you do. Go ahead. What's it mean?
I believe it's a question mark that means somebody's like yelling or very excited.
Very excited, right? It's passion. It's emotion. It's the passion in your story. Anger, excitement. It makes the story real. Thank you. What about this one?
Ooh, I know.
You know that one? What is that one?
I let one of them do it. I already had it.
Okay. This is a period. This period means it's the end. The end of a sentence, the end of a chapter, the end of a book, or the end of a story. When you are finished, you place a period. What about this one? Who knows what this symbol means? And what is a semicolon? It's a pause. Does anyone know the semicolon project? And what the semicolon project means? Raise your hands. The people that are raising their hands right now know someone who's been dealing with a mental illness, like depression, like anxiety, like self-harm, addiction, and suicide. The Semicolon Project is a nonprofit organization dedicated to presenting hope, help, and support to the people and communities suffering from mental health issues like I have just addressed. The Semicolon Project aims to inspire and encourage people to do one of the hardest things imaginable to someone who's suffering from depression, and that is ask for help when they need it the most. It is an external reminder of the internal triumph that you made. Why the semicolon? The semicolon is used when an author could have chosen to end their sentence, but chose not to. The sentence is your life, and the author is you. When I was doing research about the Semicolon Project, you can see that right there. Your story isn't over yet. There was a quote on the website that I found, and it says, "I've always liked to use the semicolon in my writing. Perhaps it's because there are several times when my own life could have ended, but didn't. My sentence, with all of its awkward pauses, still continues." So had Daniel inserted a semicolon into his story instead of a period, where would the story have gone? I'll tell you. Let's pick up on chapter 33, where we left off. The rest of this chapter would have been tough. Daniel would have had to stop drinking and start getting his life back on track. He would have humbled himself and done one of the hardest things imaginable to a person struggling with depression. He would have asked for help. Help comes in many different forms. Some need counseling, some need medication, some need spirituality. Whatever form help would come in, Daniel would have gotten it. He would have successfully allowed the supportive people in his life to continue to encourage him, and he would have allowed the destructive people in his life to eventually fall away. We'll skip ahead a couple chapters. Daniel is working on sending out hundreds of graduation announcements for his children. He's bragging about somehow managing to save up enough money to send them to college. And you know how he gloats. He would gloat about how his children are going to be more successful than he. On the weekends, he would ride his motorcycle side by side with Huntington and Kayla, proud of his children that he raised as a single dad. Or perhaps Daniel has gotten remarried, and now they're planning a trip to South Dakota for the family to celebrate the graduation. It could have happened. Skip ahead a couple chapters. Daniel has found himself in the dressing room of his children's wedding. At one time, he's straightening Huntington's tie before Huntington takes the place at the altar. And another time, he's fluffing Kayla's dress before he walks her down the aisle. He plays the song Simple Man at the wedding reception of Huntington and Butterfly Kisses at Kayla's. He gives me a hug and tells me how proud he is of his children. Skip ahead a couple chapters. Daniel is sitting in the hospital room this time. He's holding his first grandchild. He is weeping because the child that he holds has his own eyes. Daniel can't wait to spoil his grandchildren with their first bicycles. He never misses a birthday, and he always insists Christmas is going to be at Grandpa's house this year. He takes his grandchildren fishing and camping almost every chance he gets. His grandchildren adore him. Skip ahead a couple chapters. Daniel is an old man. He sits on his front porch, listening to the crickets chirp